Sir,
Yes.
sir, I did that three ones, sir, but that last one, non-polar and non-polar.
Hmm.
If ionic compound can dissolve in polar solvent because that dipole and ionic interactions will be there, but in other two, one will be non-polar, so that
If
interactions cannot develop. But if both are non-polar, there will
hmm,
be no interaction between any of them. Then why non-polar will be dissoluble in
exactly,
non-polar?
that's what we need to ask ourselves. Why? See, this part is clear that why ionic compound will be insoluble in non-polar solvent, because there will be no interaction. So that lattice which we have to break. See, again, I'll start now. Ionic compound in non-polar solvent, or simply first let's say we write here, instead of this we can write first, for ionic compound to be soluble, to be to become soluble, or to get dissolved, I'll just write to get dissolved. What we can say that magnitude of solvation enthalpy must be equal or greater than magnitude of lattice enthalpy, which means the compound is soluble first. Second, if magnitude of soluble enthalpy is less than that of magnitude of lattice enthalpy, it will be insoluble. That is, this lattice, it won't break. In this case, lattice won't break, and it will remain in form of precipitate only. This can be the condition of precipitate also, you can say that when precipitate will form, when solvation enthalpy or hydration enthalpy is less than that of lattice enthalpy. Most of the time we will be taking water as solvent, so you can even call it as hydration enthalpy. Okay, now when we are dealing with the non-polar solvent, when we are dealing with non-polar solvent, in that case, in case of non-polar solvent, there will be no interaction such as ion dipole. It will be absent. There will be no interaction, and if there is no interaction, then solvation enthalpy will be negligible. Means van der Waals interactions, of course they will be there, but they will be negligible in comparison to ion ion interaction, or simply strong electrostatic force of attraction. Negligible, or I can write 0. So lattice won't break. If lattice won't break, which mean that compound, it will not dissolve into the non-polar solvent. Simple as that. Means this sodium chloride crystal in this manner, it won't break. Simple as that. Is that clear? The strong electrostatic force of attraction, it won't be overcome by weak van der Waals forces. Clear? Second one, non-polar solvent, non-polar compound in non-polar solvent. That will be the next thing to discuss. Let's take non-polar compound in non-polar solvent. Yes, anyone? Yes, say. अभी आशीष कुमार, आदर्श, साहिल भारद्वाज, anyone? Whether non-polar compound will be soluble in non-polar solvent or not, and if yes, then why? Last class I discussed, I guess, this part. Grease, it can be dissolved in diesel, petrol, kerosene, but grease, it cannot be dissolved in polar solvents such as water. Why? Like dissolve, like, very good, nice. That is generalized case beta for all these different type of compound in different solvent. We are talking about a particular case here. What will be reason for that? You are saying they are not like in what respect? That is important, no? I'm not going to wait now for answers. I'll be just going through these part quickly. So here, non-polar compound in non-polar solvent, they will get dissolved because here I'll be writing few points. Pay attention for these few points. First of all, interactions between solvent molecule is very poor. So if interactions are very poor, that is intermolecular space is large, means vacant spaces are present between the solvent molecule. Okay, you can call it in terms of density also. Water molecule, strong hydrogen bond is there in polar solvent. Generally strong interaction is there, so due to strong interaction, particles, they will be very close to each other, so vacant spaces, they will be less, first thing, right? So that is in polar solvent. In non-polar solvent, interaction between solvent molecule will be very poor, so particles, they will be not very close to each other, means there will be vacant space present between solvent molecule, right? Second one, we can also write interaction between solute particles is also poor. Interaction between solute particle is also very poor. That means in order to separate solute particles away from each other, it won't require high energy. Means you don't need to supply high energy or that solvation enthalpy, high value of solvation enthalpy, it won't be required. Those solute particles, they can be easily separated away from each other, because interactions between solute particle is very poor. Is that clear? So now what will happen, that if we are taking, let's say these are solvent particle in this manner, we are writing, let's say these are solvent particle. Now if we add solute particle, those solute particles, they will get trapped inside those vacant spaces easily, because there is no interaction between solvent particle as well as there is no interaction between solute particle. So because of those poor interaction and large molecular spaces, we say that they will get dissolved into each other very easily. That part is clear. Means at the same time, if I take let's say polar solvent and non-polar solute, now in that case what will happen here, let's say water molecules we have taken here, they are closely bounded to each other in this manner, right? So no molecular spaces are present, or molecular spaces, they are very less. So when solute particle, let's say diesel, petrol, kerosene, grease, or naphthalene or camphor, these when they will try to penetrate through water molecule, they won't be able to do so. Is that clear? Now they can break, like if you put them with the high kinetic energy into a polar solvent, like if you try to splash diesel, petrol, kerosene into water, after some time what will happen, again between water molecule strong interactions are there, hydrogen bonding is there, so water molecule will be attracted by water molecule more effectively in comparison to the solute particle. So again they will get collected back and they are going to form different layers. Whoever is having more interaction or more density, that will form lower layer and another one form the upper layer. Is that clear? That's how you can define solubility of non-polar compound in polar solvents. Is that clear? Now next, ionic compound in non-polar solvent, which we have already defined. Is that clear? Any confusion, any doubt? So solubility part is pretty much clear to everyone. Now after that, this whole part, again let's recall this important point. Yes, so we have defined that condition when a compound, it will get dissolved, correct? Now thing is, we have to define one more particular type of enthalpy. See here, we have defined solvation enthalpy, we have defined hydration enthalpy. Here we have written this SE is nothing, SE or HE, it means solvation enthalpy or hydration enthalpy. That's what we have defined. This is what we have defined already, correct? Here one more particular type of enthalpy I'd like to take, that is enthalpy of solution. Two type of enthalpy of solutions are there. First, let's understand what does it mean. It is see, let's say I write primary enthalpy of solution. Primary enthalpy of solution, it is the amount of energy exchanged. I'll write exchanged. I'm not writing released or absorbed. It is the amount of energy exchanged when 1 mole of a compound gets dissolved in fixed, known or sufficient amount of solvent. Here we are saying that when 1 mole of compound, it is dissolved in some fixed amount of or sufficient amount of solvent, then the amount of energy exchange, that is at a particular temperature. See, when we are writing standard, then at 298 Kelvin we try to define it. So that is enthalpy of solution. Okay, or let's say x gram per ml is the solubility of a particular compound. Then when x gram of solute is dissolved, or 1000x gram of solute is dissolved in 1 liter of water, the amount of energy released divided by the molecular mass, that will be the enthalpy of solution, or primary enthalpy of solution. That is first part. I'll try to discuss this primary enthalpy of solution first, then we will go towards secondary enthalpy of solution. So here I could write that when a solid, okay, a solid gets dissolved, let's say water, I write H2, or let's say it get dissolved in water, I write H2O, then it will become a aqueous. If it get dissolved, means when a saturated solution is being formed. So a aqueous, here delta HR, which I write delta HR, I can write it as primary enthalpy of solution, delta H solution. It's not solvation enthalpy or hydration enthalpy, it is enthalpy of solution, primary enthalpy of solution. So here I'd also try to define this primary enthalpy of solution as amount of energy exchanged, when a saturated solution of 1 mole of substance is made. When this solution will be made, then the amount of energy exchanged, that will be called as enthalpy of solution. Okay, it's not like the amount of energy released when you are going to dissolve it or like that. So here I'd like to break this example here. I'll take it on the next page. Let's say a solid plus, just let me finish Buddhadev this one and then I'll discuss. A aqueous, or let's say here I take AB and plus X plus B minus X aqueous. Let's say furthermore we make this thing clear. So this delta HR, that is heat of solution or primary heat of solution. Here if I try to write A plus X in gaseous state plus B minus X in gaseous state, this I can write as delta H, lattice enthalpy. Is that correct? I have already told you that in some book lattice enthalpy it can be given with negative sign. If lattice enthalpy is given with negative sign, then it will be the amount of energy released when 1 mole of lattice will be formed. And if lattice enthalpy is given with positive sign, which means that process it is endothermic, and that means it is the amount of energy required to break the space lattice. Okay, now here from here to here you can write that will be delta H solvation enthalpy or hydration enthalpy. Is that clear? So delta HR now I can write as delta HR I can write as sum of lattice enthalpy plus hydration enthalpy. Basically it will be the difference, because lattice enthalpy we know it will be coming out with positive sign, means that will be an endothermic process, while hydration enthalpy or solvation enthalpy, that will be coming out with a negative sign. So basically this is the difference of magnitude of lattice enthalpy and solvation enthalpy, that will be delta HR. So here number of different cases you can write for enthalpy of solution. It can be endothermic, it can be exothermic, it can be even 0. Okay, for ideal solution it will be coming out to be 0. Now here case 1 you can write, if magnitude of lattice enthalpy is less than magnitude of solvation enthalpy, delta HR that will be negative, means process will be exothermic, heat will be released. Is that clear? For example, even though you can write calcium oxide, but that will be a chemical change, so I won't suggest you to write it as an example. I can say dissolving strong acid, strong base in water, that you can write, or some of ionic salts such as barium hydroxide, or let's say I can take barium fluoride, that will be an exothermic process. Okay, so here let's say potassium fluoride or barium fluoride. Second case, if magnitude of lattice enthalpy is greater than that of solvation enthalpy, then process it will be endothermic in nature. Delta HR that will be positive. Process will be endothermic in nature, dissolving glucose, making glucose solution. You might have observed this. When you dissolve glucose in water, that temperature of that water, it appears to be dropping, right? You can try it by putting glucose in your mouth directly, right? Also sodium chloride here, even though sodium chloride, it is highly soluble in water, but its enthalpy of enthalpy of solution nearly come out to be 1 kilocalorie per mole, which you can even apply with the help of stirring. Sometimes you might have seen that in order to make saline solution, you need to stir that solution sometime. Is that correct or not? Third case, you can write, if magnitude of lattice enthalpy is equals to magnitude of solvation enthalpy, delta HR. This delta HR, whenever I am writing, that is enthalpy of solution, that will be 0. I can even write ideal solution. This is primary enthalpy of solution. Okay, I suppose up to here no confusion. Now you go through this part once again so that we can discuss secondary enthalpy of solution. Yes, Buddhadev, now you can ask what you were asking.
Sir, please show last slide.
Last slide. Yes.
Sir, saturated solution of 1 mole of substance का मतलब?
Yes. Saturated solution of 1 mole of substance.
हाँ, इसका मतलब क्या? मतलब
इसका मतलब ये है कि यार consider we are saying that sodium chloride or all alkali metal salts are readily soluble in water. That's what we are saying.
हाँ.
So that means whenever we put alkali metal salts into water, they must get dissolved. इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं है कि एक गिलास पानी के अंदर 2-4 किलो नमक डाल दिया तुम लोगों ने. Are you getting what I am trying to say? There is a fixed amount, even if it is readily soluble salt, there is a fixed amount of a salt which can be dissolved in the given solvent. Because last class, if you remember, we discussed that for some hypothetical values I gave you. For each sodium ion, let's say 15 water molecules are required. So for number of sodium ions which you have taken, or number of any cation or anion if you have taken, a fixed amount of solvent molecules are also required. So you can dissolve a fixed amount of a given salt or given compound into a given amount of solvent.
सर, तो उस सॉल्यूशन में 1 मोल घुल गया उसके बाद और सॉल्यूट नहीं घुल सकता है ऐसा?
वो 1 मोल कितने सॉल्वेंट में डिसॉल्व हो रहा है ये भी तो इम्पोर्टेंट है. Let's say 1 mole of solute, let's say 1 mole of sodium chloride I take. 1 mole of sodium chloride, let's say it takes 10 liter of water, while 1 mole of magnesium chloride, let's say it require different volume of water. Is that correct or not?
हाँ सर, तो वही जो 10 लीटर बोल रहे हैं उसमें और नहीं ना ऐड हो सकता वो
अब
सॉल्यूट?
उसमें और सोडियम क्लोराइड जैसे ही तू डालेगा तो लेट्स से जस्ट गिव मी 1 सेकंड. Now if you are putting some more amount of sodium chloride, let's say one more unit of sodium chloride if you have put, then what will happen? That one more sodium chloride unit, it will get dissolved, and the remaining sodium chloride, or one particular unit of sodium chloride, it will get precipitated from the bottom. I'll try to define it in terms of, let's say, यहाँ ले लेते हैं. Here let's say these are sodium chloride or sodium or chloride ions which are present in water. Okay, now if I add furthermore one more sodium chloride unit, for each sodium ion and chloride ion water molecules are present. Here let's say for this one I surround it from water molecule in this manner, let's say. Correct. Now as soon as you will put similarly for these also in this manner, they are surrounded by water molecules like this. Okay, in this manner. Now as soon as you are going to put this sodium chloride unit here, what will happen? Different water molecules, they will try to dissolve it. Correct. So they will be leaving another sodium or chloride ion from here, like this. So what will happen? As soon as this sodium chloride unit will get dissolved, another sodium or chloride units they will get precipitated. So once, let's say 1 mole of sodium chloride is dissolved in 10 liter of water, saturated solution has been made. Now next unit of sodium chloride you put, precipitation of sodium chloride will start. That is called as saturated solution. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I suppose you understood this concept?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So go through this part once again so that I can start so that I can start with this secondary heat of solution. Heat of solution is clear to everyone. This is heat of solution. That will be basically the difference of magnitude of lattice enthalpy and solvation enthalpy. It's like here, it's like we are saying that for sodium chloride, let's say solid, giving you Na positive aqueous and Cl negative aqueous, delta HR, if I write 1 kilocalorie per mole. Now here X is the lattice enthalpy, Na positive gas, Cl negative gas, and Y is the hydration enthalpy. Correct. So with magnitude, if I have to write delta H lattice enthalpy, I can write as X, and here delta H solvation enthalpy or hydration enthalpy I can write as minus Y. So I am going to write X minus Y is coming out to be 1 kilocalorie per mole. Clear? Which means I can say that lattice enthalpy is greater than that of solvation enthalpy for sodium chloride, and by what magnitude? By this magnitude. Means you can write, if lattice enthalpy of sodium chloride is given as 100, then 100 kilocalorie per mole, then hydration enthalpy I can write as 99 minus 99 kilocalorie per mole. Is it clear to everyone? Any confusion, any doubt? क्लियर है? Now after dissolving here, once it is dissolved, now again further if I add more solvent molecules, again if I add further more solvent molecules, now what will happen? Basically we are diluting the solution, basically we are adding further more solvent particles. So already hydrated sodium ion, let's say this is already hydrated sodium ion is there, in a saturated solution. Now if I am adding further more solvent molecule, now some interaction it will get developed between furthermore added solvent molecules or not? Correct. So some interaction that will get developed between the added solvent molecule and the already hydrated solute ions. So because of that some heat it will also release. Is that correct or not? So that heat released on dilution, that is we call it as secondary heat of solution or heat of dilution. We can define heat of dilution as the amount of energy released when a saturated solution is further diluted. So reason for that heat release that we can define, that reason we can define easily. I suppose there will be no doubt. Clear? Okay, so this was about this heat of solution. Any confusion in all these heats which we have discussed? I suppose not. Now we have discussed this Hess law of constant heat summation. Hess law we have already defined. Correct. Various different type of enthalpies we have defined. Applications of Hess law we know. Correct. Now one more law of thermochemistry I'll be discussing with you. See here, first we can define laws of thermochemistry. First one, Hess law of constant heat summation. We don't need to discuss Hess law once again, right? Second one, see there are statements, guys. I'll suggest you. I'll be going through all the different concepts, but at the same time, this definition part you refer to NCRT or any reference book which you are using right now. The definition which I will give you, that will be important. At the same time, these statements also you should go through. Okay. Next is Kirchhoff's law. So I'll start with Kirchhoff's law. See, Kirchhoff's law, basically it is used to find relationship between basically to define variation in enthalpy or internal energy with variation in temperature. So basically, what will be the effect of temperature on enthalpy and internal energy? That's what we are going to discuss in Kirchhoff's law. Okay, so let's start with the Kirchhoff's law.
Sir,
Ah,
sir, can you please be a bit louder, sir?
again. What?
Sir, can you please be a bit louder, sir?
Okay. No problem. So now we want to define this Kirchhoff's law for variation in enthalpy with temperature, with respect to temperature. Means what will be the effect of temperature on enthalpy change or internal energy change. Okay, I'll be trying to define for enthalpy change. The same you will try to do for internal energy change. Okay, so let's take first some reaction. If I take see, as we are dealing in thermochemistry, so I'll try to take a chemical reaction. Let's say A plus B giving you C plus D. Okay, I'll try to take it as an example, and with the help of this example I'll try to define Kirchhoff's law. Okay, so here some given values are there. Let's try to write delta H1 at T1 temperature, and I'll be performing this at constant pressure, because if pressure is also variable, then delta H, of course, it will be variable. Correct. Basically here we are trying to understand the effect of temperature. So delta H at T1 temperature, let's say Cp A, Cpb, Cp C, Cp D are heat capacities of A, B, C, D. Okay, so we write delta HR. Let's say right here delta HR, which is equals to delta H1. Directly I will write at T1 temperature. That I can write as enthalpies of product, or delta HP minus let's put delta HP minus delta HR, means enthalpies of product minus enthalpies of reactant. Yes or no? Correct only. Now here delta H1 I can write it as see delta HP minus delta HR. So I can write it as Cp into delta T of product minus Cp reactant into delta T, or delta T1 you can take. Is that clear? Any confusion, any doubt? So this we can write it as Cp of C plus Cp of D minus Cp of A plus Cp of B into delta T1. That I can write as delta H1. Similarly, delta H2, if I have to define, that will be again this I can write it as delta Cp, or simply Cp of reaction directly I can write. So let's say I write it as Cp of reaction into delta T2. If I subtract equation 1 from equation 2, if I subtract equation 1 from equation 2, I'll get delta H2 minus delta H1. That will be coming out to be Cp of reaction will come out to be common. So simply I can write Cp of C plus Cp of D minus Cp of A minus Cp of B. Directly I can write this, or Cp of reaction into delta T2 minus delta T1. Here T1 we are writing, see, when reaction is moving from, let's say, T to T1 or T1 to T. Similarly, delta, I write here delta H2 at T2 temperature. Here when I'll use delta T2, then I will write it as reaction moving from T to T2 or T2 to T. So here I can write it as see, delta T1 delta T1 we can write as T1 minus T, and delta T2 you can write it as T2 minus T. Is that correct or not? Any confusion, any doubt? So here I can write it as delta T2 minus delta T1. If I write that, it will be coming out to be delta H2 minus delta H1 comes out to be Cp of reaction T2 minus T1. Isn't that right? So we can write delta H2, that will be delta H1 plus Cp of reaction into T2 minus T1. The same can be defined for internal energy change also. Any confusion, any doubt? This is Kirchhoff's law in thermochemistry. Delta E2 at T2 temperature we can write it as delta E1 plus Cv of reaction T2 minus T1. Directly I can write with the help of this polarity. Is that clear? This is second law of thermodynamics, you can say. First was Hess law of constant heat summation. This one you can write it as second law. Now my next question will be, do we need to discuss calorimeter, bomb calorimeter?
Sir, CP reaction means?
सीपी रिएक्शन, बेटा सीपी रिएक्शन, ये रिएक्शन ली थी ना अपन ने, ए प्लस बी गिविंग यू सी प्लस डी. सो सीपी ऑफ रिएक्शन हम क्या लिखते हैं, डेल्टा एच इज इक्वल्स टू एन सी पी डेल्टा टी एट कॉन्स्टेंट प्रेशर, ये लिखते हैं ना. डेल्टा एच आर हीट ऑफ रिएक्शन क्या लिखूंगा मैं, डेल्टा एच ऑफ प्रोडक्ट माइनस डेल्टा एच ऑफ रिएक्टेंट. सो प्रोडक्ट के लिए क्या लिख दूंगा, एन सी पी ऑफ सी प्लस एन सी पी ऑफ डी इंटू डेल्टा टी. ये डेल्टा एच प्रोडक्ट हो जाएगा, और सेपरेटली इफ़ यू वांट टू राइट यू कैन राइट इट सेपरेटली एज एन सी पी सी डेल्टा टी प्लस एन सी पी डी डेल्टा टी माइनस एन सी पी ए डेल्टा टी माइनस एन सी पी बी डेल्टा टी. That you can write. These are C, D, A, B, or directly you can write it as CP, C. Here these are molar heat capacities. Okay, directly CP, C delta T like that. ठीक है, आ जाएगा. Any confusion, any doubt to anyone? Now take 10 minutes break. We will resume the class after 10 minutes. Yes, Ashish Kumar.
सर प्रीवियस पेज
प्रीवियस पेज ये खोला, प्रीवियस पेज बताओ.
सर इसमें अगर टेम्परेचर दोनों इक्वल हो सकता है
इक्वल हो गया तो डेल्टा H2 विल बी डेल्टा H1 ना. इफेक्ट ऑफ टेम्परेचर डिस्कस करना है. अगर टेम्परेचर ही चेंज नहीं हो रहा तो व्हाई देयर विल बी एनी चेंज.
सर मतलब ये पॉसिबल है कि टेम्परेचर इक्वल हो सकता है.
ऑफ कोर्स यार, टेम्परेचर इक्वल होगा तो डेल्टा H2 विल बी डेल्टा H1 नो, मैथमेटिकली.
यस
T2 minus T1 0 हो जाएगा. We have gone through various different type of enthalpies. We have gone through various different laws of thermodynamics, etc. Right? Now, the only thing which we need, that is going through a number of different problems. So better I'll suggest you to start solving problem. All of you have Avasthi, Narendra Avasthi, yes? Already I have shared on group as well. Those who are not having Avasthi, raise your hand. All of you are having 150 problems are there in level 1. Okay, today itself it should be completed, like those who were saying 12, 15, 17 problems. You have to go through all these 150 problems in level 1, and in level 2 you are having if I am right nearly 40 problems. Those 40 problems, so 190 problem, and if you go through level 3 as well, particularly the integer type of problem are around 25 problems. So around 250 problems you'll get from Narendra Avasthi along with the assignment which I have shared with you, right? So better you start solving these problems, and you can ask doubt on the group as well. Okay, I'll be out and I won't be able to take class in this week, I guess. So
Not in this week.
हाँ, for the next 2-3 days. So in those in the meantime, you go through these problems and try to complete at least this assignment or these 3 exercises of Narendra Avasthi. That is one of the thing. Second, those who have already completed Avasthi, one more book I will suggest you for from advanced point of view. That also you purchase. It will be available on Flipkart and all. It is a book from Career Point. For Lakshya batch, a red color book will be there. That book also you purchase, okay, and it will be very helpful from advanced point of view. Simultaneously you go through previous year IIT problems, at least those who are unable to solve even 20-30 problem, at least you go through a previous year IIT problem, so that at least you will have this clarity that what kind of questions are being asked from a particular chapter in your JEE exam. Okay, so with that I'll be finishing the lecture, and here I would like to ask you one more thing. If you have solved Avasthi and if you have any doubt, any problem which you want me to discuss with you, you just tell me. I have Avasthi right in front of me. We can solve problems from Avasthi. you don't have any doubt, I'll be writing some problems here. Which of the following equations represents a reaction that provide standard enthalpy of formation of CH3Cl. Option 1. You try to write the reaction by yourself. Meanwhile, I'll be writing the option. You try to pick the correct one. Okay. Carbon solid. It will be written in form of solid. You have to consider it to be graphite. Okay. Carbon solid plus HCl gas plus H2 gas giving you CH3Cl gas. Option 2. Carbon solid plus 3H gas plus Cl gas giving you CH3Cl gas. Option 3. Carbon solid plus 3/2 H2 gas plus, here it is written as gas, plus 1/2 Cl2 gas giving you CH3Cl gas. Option 4. CH4 gas plus Cl2 gas, free radical mechanism, CH3Cl gas plus HCl gas. Yes, try to find out the correct one. You should not take more than 15 seconds. Just give me the answer.
Third equation.
Very good. Buddhav, it is right.
Linga.
Okay, very good, Linga. Now, the rest of you, भाग गए क्या सारे? Still there.
Fourth one कैसे होगा बेटा? See, what was the definition of standard enthalpy of formation? When one mole of substance, it is formed from its corresponding constituent elements, right? And that one mole of substance, it should be formed in its standard state from its corresponding elements, which must also be present in their standard state. First one, chlorine is not present in standard state, correct? Second one, again, hydrogen and chlorine, they are not present in standard state. Fourth one, it is not being formed from its corresponding constituent element, correct? It is formed from different molecules. Is that correct? Yes.
Any confusion, any doubt?
No.
Now, can we define this part? When I discussed standard heat of formation, I said for hydrogen, for chlorine, for any elemental species, for metals, it will be considered as 0, we said, right? But
for methane, for HCl, for ammonia, for water, it is not coming out to be 0. That's what we have written. Now do you understand why it will not be equals to 0? My second question is question number 2. Note down. Why standard heat of formation of water is not 0? If bond dissociation enthalpy of hydrogen is given as X, bond dissociation enthalpy of oxygen is given as Y, and bond dissociation enthalpy of hydrogen and oxygen is given as Z, then what will be the standard heat of formation of water? Try to find out. Do it quickly. Question number 2. Is it clear to everyone? Question number 2.
Sir,
repeat one.
लिख दे बेटा साहिल भारद्वाज, कुछ समझ नहीं आता तू क्या बोलता है मेरे को.
sir, I
Question
did not
repeat.
get properly, sir. Can you say one?
Okay. Question number 2. Explain why standard heat of formation of water is not 0. Okay, part 1. Part 2 of this question: if bond dissociation enthalpy of hydrogen, or let's say right hydrogen is given as X, bond dissociation enthalpy of oxygen is given as Y, and bond dissociation enthalpy for hydrogen and oxygen is given as Z, what will be standard heat of formation of water? This is question number 2. Get the answer. Huh?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, for formation of H2O, already two elements in their standard states needs to be taken. So they will have,
already.
sir, for formation of H2O, two standard elements in their state has to be taken. They has to combine. They has to do chemical reaction to form H2O. So surely they will have some chemical reaction between them.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why second part I have given, so that mathematically also you can define that why it will not be 0. That's why second part I have given, so that you can define, you can explain that why it is not 0. So better you solve second part first, so that first part it will become very easy for you to define.
Second part will be x plus y by 2.
Second part will be
X plus y by 2.
x plus y by 2. No, yeah.
Standard enthalpy formation of H2O.
Formation. Try to write the Hess law, no beta.
Sir,
Just try to write the Hess law. Like try to make that cycle, Haber cycle we make, no? it will give you clear picture.
Sir,
हाँ,
can you hear me, sir?
yes, I can hear
X
you.
plus y by 2 has 2z minus delta H vaporization.
डेल्टा एच वेपराइजेशन क्यों चाहिए होगा बेटा, एक चीज़ बता.
सर H2O का तो लिक्विड स्टेट में ना होगा सर.
हाँ, तो उसको प्लस में किया है डेल्टा एच वेपराइजेशन को या नेगेटिव में?
नेगेटिव में
अच्छा अच्छा, ठीक है.
स्टेट से सर लिक्विड स्टेट में जाएगा.
हाँ, तो माइनस ऑफ डेल्टा एच वेपराइजेशन आ जाएगा, यही बोल रहे हो?
यस.
वेरी गुड. तो फर्स्ट वाले का आंसर क्लियर हो गया सबको? एक और क्वेश्चन करें. लेट्स टेक here, if it is given as, let's say, N2H4 liquid plus 2H2O liquid giving 2H2O liquid giving N2 gas plus H2O2. Wait. Giving you N2 gas plus 2H2O 4. Liquid. Delta H1, I can call it as delta H1 naught, that will be coming out to be minus 818 kilojoule per mole. This reaction, it occurs in those launching vehicles, satellites जो लॉन्च करते हैं ना हम लोग, तो उसमें this N2H4 hydrogen, it is used as rocket propellant along with H2O2. H2O2 act as oxidizer. So basically this is nothing but a combustion reaction, you can say. So not just combustion reaction but a redox reaction, you can say. So it will release, you can see that huge amount of energy is being released here, right? Simultaneously, if I write N2H4 liquid plus O2 gas giving you N2 gas plus 2H2O liquid delta H2 naught, I can write minus 622 kilojoule per mole. Means instead of this H2O2 as oxidizer, if we use atmospheric oxygen, then this much amount of heat will be released. At the same time, if I take this fuel cell H2 gas plus half O2 gas giving you H2O liquid delta H3 naught, if I write, let's say standard heat of formation, I write it as minus 285 kilojoule per mole. This third reaction, it occurs in fuel cell. In electrochemistry, when I will discuss, we'll talk about fuel cell also. Okay, now here from the given data, calculate enthalpy of formation of H2O2. कितना आ जाएगा? Try to find out. हो जाएगा? Just try to get the answer for this question. Anyone getting answer?
Sir, few more minutes, sir.
Oh, minutes. Don't say minutes, beta. I told you have to improve your speed. These are men's level problems only, easy problem, not even men's level.
Sir, 87 kilojoule per mole.
87 किलोजूल पर मोल प्लस में। एक बार चेक कर बेटा, प्लस में कैसे आएगा?
सर 87 किलोजूल प्लस माइनस में सर,
माइनस में
87 किलोजूल पर मोल।
एक बार उसके आगे देख ले, कोई एक या दो कुछ और आ रहा होगा, 187 287 टाइप कुछ। एक बार कैलकुलेशंस चेक कर ले।
Sir, sir,
यस
98 kilojoules per mole.
98 प्लस और माइनस,
Sir,
प्लस और माइनस।
plus sir.
You have to check it again. Some mistake you might have done, some plus minus sign. Subtraction part, it is important, means you can subtract equations from each other,
हाँ
no?
sir,
Like,
वही तो लिख रहे हैं।
हाँ, so see, if I subtract equation 2 from equation 1 and 2 times equation 3 from equation 1, still it will be coming out with negative sign, no? 2H2O2 like, sorry, if I add equation 2 and equation 3 2 times minus equation 1, then H2O2 it will come out in product side.
नहीं सर, माइनस होगा सर।
माइनस में आएगा ना?
हाँ सर,
एग्जैक्टली, दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग।
इक्वेशन को रिवर्स करने से मैं
हाँ।
साइन चेंज नहीं करेगी।
Let's say if I write equation 2 plus 2 times equation 3 minus equation 1, try to find out the resultant reaction first of all. See, these are just silly mistakes which we are doing, right? They can be only improved with the help of practice. You have knowledge, you know how to solve a problem, but lack of practice, it will always make you to do mistakes in the exam. So better you rectify those mistakes by doing practice. if I write in this manner, the resulting reaction do we get for H2O2? H2O to H2O will get cancel out, N2 to N2 will get cancel out, N2H4 to N2H4 will get cancel out, O2 to O2 will get cancel out. Sorry, 2 times this you are doing. So see, 2O2 it will come. So 2H2 plus 2O2 it will give you 2 times H2O2. It will come in the product side. So 2 moles of H2O2 you are forming. So for 1 mole of H2O2 you can figure out the answer. So just divide it by 2, it will give you the exact values. Is that correct? So answer, it must be coming out to be 622 multiplied by 2, that is 1244. Sorry, equation 2, that is 622 2 times
Sir, 2O2 will be na.
285, that will be 570 plus 622, this is 1192 minus 818 divided by 2, that is coming out to be minus 187. Anyone getting minus 187 as answer?
Yes, sir.
Minus 187 kilojoule per mole.
Yes,
Who?
yes.
Sir, that will be for 2 moles of
Would they-
H2O2, sir.
Yes, for 2 moles of H2O2 will form, no? In product side you see, you are subtracting this 2 moles of H2O2, it is coming. So for 1 mole it will come out to be minus 187. For 2 moles it will be coming out to be 374, minus 374 kilojoule per mole, right? So for 1 mole you can find out the answer, right? Sir.
Sir, 2O2 na. 2O2 also will be na. Sir, once last step again.
just दो मिनट. हाँ सर, ठीक, बाय. हाँ यस, चलो मैं इसको पूरा दोबारा से लिखता हूँ. ओके, लेट्स जस्ट क्लीन दिस पार्ट. सी दिस पार्ट ऑल्सो आई विल जस्ट रिमूव. ओके, let's write we are saying just multiply this equation by 2, this equation by 1, and this by minus 1. Okay, so what we are going to obtain, let's say I write the resultant reaction: N2H4 plus O2 plus 2 times H2 plus 1 by 2 into 2, that is O2, plus see minus of equation 1, so plus N2 plus 4 H2O, correct, giving you now product side N2 plus 2 H2O, their respective symbols you can write by yourself, plus 2 H2O plus N2H4 plus 2 H2O2, right? So delta HR for this second reaction, for resulting reaction, delta HR I can write delta H2 plus 2 times delta H3 minus delta H1, that I can write, correct. Now let's try to figure out what species we can cancel out. N2H4 to N2H4 will get cancel out, 4H2O to 4H2O will get cancel out, N2 to N2 will get cancel out. Now the resulting reaction which we are going to obtain, that will be coming out to be 2H2 gas plus 2O2 gas, giving you 2H2O2 in liquid state. Delta HR we know that coming out to be minus 374. Any confusion, any doubt? यही आ रहा है. Now this is heat of reaction for formation of 2 moles of H2O2. So I can write H2 gas plus O2 gas giving you H2O2, that liquid, that I can write as standard heat of formation of H2O2, that comes out to be minus 187 kilojoule per mole. Is that clear? Any confusion, any doubt?
Sir, by this also we can get sir, equation 1 and minus of equation 2.
Sign will change, no beta. In that, just with the help of equation 1 and equation 2, you are trying to find out.
Yes, sir. I got like 2H2O plus O2 gives us to.
How you are going to balance it? Let's try to solve it with equation 1 and equation 2. So what should I do? Equation 1 minus equation 2 or equation 2 minus equation 1?
Equation 1 minus equation 2, sir.
Equation 1 minus equation 2, let's say I write N2H4 to N2H4 will get cancelled out. Correct?
Yes, yes.
N2 to N2 will get cancelled out. So equation 1 minus equation 2 I am writing. Correct? So
Yes, yes.
resulting equation, it will be coming out to be 2H2O2 plus O2 giving you 4H2O plus 2H2O. How I am
Then
going to
H2O, H2O can cancel, no, sir. On both the sides, H2O is there.
where one side H2O2 is there, right hand side H2O is there, how you can cancel out? Are you getting this part? You might have done this mistake here. I suppose you have taken here this is as H2O2. And even if you cancel out, then how formation of H2O2 will come? Is that correct or not? Understood, everyone? Yes, Linga.
Sir.
Understood?
Check. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Rest of you, you also go through similar type of problems. You'll find a lot of problem in Narendra Avasthi. Okay. Same type of problems. And after 10 minutes,